Why does your cat stare at you without blinking? Have you ever sat in a quiet room, only to suddenly realize your cat's eyes are fixed directly on you, unblinking, not a single movement? Those eyes seem to pierce through all your defenses as if touching the very depths of your soul. In that moment, how do you feel? A little surprised, a little shiver, and sometimes a strange curiosity. Why on earth does my cat stare at me like that? And why ... do they not blink at all? Many people would answer immediately, oh, cats are just curious, or maybe they want food. But trust me, if you think that, you are missing out on one of the greatest secrets of the feline world. Because that seemingly simple behavior, the steady, unblinking gaze, is actually a secret language, a signal reserved only for those a cat has chosen as its supreme confidant. It's not a joke, nor is it a meaningless habit. It is a ritual, an invisible whisper, a pact of affection that a cat bestows upon you if, and only if, it has decided, this person is safe, this person is family, this person is where I can place my entire heart and life. Animal behavior scientists call this phenomenon by a dramatic name, the unblinking bond, and when you truly hear that name, you understand why it's so haunting. An unblinking gaze, one that doesn't look away, is an incredibly vulnerable act in the wild. A predator, a creature of prey, none would dare to hold their gaze still for too long, because just 1 second of lost vigilance could cost them their lives. Yet your cat does this with you repeatedly, steadfastly, as if to affirm, I know you will never harm me. To fully grasp the meaning, we must travel back in time to the very first days of a kitten's life. When newly born, kittens cannot open their eyes immediately. They live in darkness, completely dependent on the warmth and protection of their mother. Then one day, those tender eyes open for the first time, and what they see is their mother's face, their mother's gaze. In that instant, sight becomes a sacred bridge between life and safety. And today, when your cat looks at you without blinking, they are recreating that very primordial memory. To them, you are mother, the protector, the one place that makes them feel absolutely safe. This is not a random act. It is millions of years of evolutionary memory packaged into those small eyes, sending you a single message: I trust you. Dr. Rachel Casey at the University of Bristol, one of the world's most renowned experts in cat behavior, once said, a cat's steady gaze is not mere cuteness. It is a measurable indicator of a deep emotional bond between cat and human. Her research shows that when a cat maintains a long, unblinking stare, the levels of oxytocin, the love hormone, increase in the brains of both the cat and the human. This means that with just a look, both are creating a biological bridge, a connection that can be measured by science. So, the next time your cat looks at you without blinking, do not take it lightly. It's not just curiosity. It's not a signal for I want food. It is love. It is a choice. It is the highest ritual of trust that a small creature, one that once survived in harsh jungles and deserts, has bestowed upon you. And if that doesn't give you chills, remember this: you have just been chosen as family by a species famous for being proud, mysterious, and hard to approach. If you want to continue this journey of discovering the magical secrets in the invisible language of cats, hit subscribe and turn on notifications right now, because what I'm about to reveal next will change the way you look into your cat's eyes forever. ALRIGHT. Let's delve deeper into this behavior. Because to truly understand why does your cat stare at you without blinking, you have to see it through the lens of science and evolution. As I mentioned, researchers have given it a very special name, the unblinking bond. The name alone is enough to give you goosebumps, because no other animal uses a prolonged steady gaze as a way to connect emotionally. In nature, staring without blinking is an extremely dangerous act. A predator that does so will be easily spotted. A prey animal that does so might lose its chance to survive. Yet, the cat in your home is willing to put itself in that state, right in front of you. What does this mean? It means they are dismantling their strongest survival defense. They're giving you one of the most precious things a wild species possesses, their vulnerability. To understand why, we must go back millions of years in evolution. Today's domestic cats are descendants of the African wildcat creatures that lived in harsh environments where blinking at the wrong moment could mean life or death. For them, sight is not merely vision, it is a weapon, it is a shield, and most importantly, it is a tool for survival. And yet, when a cat sits in your lap or lies on the sofa staring at you without blinking, it is doing the complete opposite of its instincts. It is saying, here, with you, I don't need to be on guard anymore. I don't need to be afraid. I can let my instincts sleep, because I know you will protect me. And you know what? Science has proven this isn't just speculation. In a study published by the University of Bristol, Dr. Rachel Casey observed hundreds of pairs of cats and their owners. She found that when a cat stared into its owner's eyes for a long time without blinking, and the owner responded with a gentle gaze, the concentration of oxytocin, the love hormone in both of them, increased significantly. Can you imagine? With just a look, an invisible biological thread is created, connecting the hearts of the cat and the human. This is similar to when a mother looks into the eyes of her newborn child, or when two people in love gaze at each other. It's not a coincidence. It is a bonding mechanism that has evolved over millions of years, now hidden in the small eyes of your cat. And here's a shocking truth. Cats don't do this with everyone. If you've ever noticed, they might glance at a stranger for a moment, then look away. They might observe their surroundings, but rarely hold a steady gaze. That unblinking stare is reserved only for those they have chosen, those with whom they feel completely safe, completely trustworthy. That's why I say, when a cat looks at you without blinking, you are not just an owner, you are the chosen one. The only person in that room for whom they are willing to set aside their survival instincts. Try to remember, when was the last time you saw that look from your cat? When you were studying, when you were sad, or when you were tired after a long day? Many owners report that it is in their weakest moments that their cats stare at them longer than usual, as if they know, as if they want to say, "Don't worry, I'm here. You have me." And in that very moment, science and emotion merge into one. The cat's eyes become a mirror reflecting love, trust, and absolute safety. So, the next time you catch that steady gaze, remember, you are witnessing an ancient evolutionary ritual, encapsulated in a tiny moment of the present. A single look, yet it contains millions of years of survival, millions of years of selection, only to stop and be given entirely to you. Allow me to tell you a story that I still remember vividly to this day, because it completely changed the way I look into the eyes of a cat. It's the story of Jennifer, a young woman living in the suburbs, and her cat, Shadow. Shadow was not a lucky cat. He had been abandoned, even abused, before Jennifer rescued him. When he first set foot in that house, Shadow was always timid, hiding under the bed, and almost never daring to look a person directly in the eye. Jennifer was very patient. She didn't force him, didn't try to hold him, didn't make Shadow change. She would just sit nearby, read a book, occasionally place a bowl of food, and then let him decide for himself. 6 months passed, then 8, and Shadow remained distant, wary, always keeping a safe distance. Until one winter evening, Jennifer recalls that she was sitting alone, her mind in turmoil after just losing her job. In her most vulnerable moment, she suddenly burst into tears, and right then, from under the bed, Shadow emerged. He didn't meow, wasn't timid anymore. He walked straight towards her, sat at her feet, and looked up at her. Those eyes, bright and clear, unmoving, not a single blink. Jennifer said that in that moment she felt something that human language could never describe. It wasn't curiosity, it wasn't feed me, it was understanding, it was empathy. Shadow had chosen Jennifer's weakest moment to tell her, "I trust you. I am here with you, and now I give you my heart." Jennifer cried even more, but they were tears of happiness, because right then, she knew that after almost a year, Shadow finally trusted her, and that unblinking gaze was his declaration. You see, sometimes we search for love everywhere, in flowery words, in grand gestures. But with cats, love is so simple it's almost unbelievable. Just a look, a long unblinking gaze that holds an entire universe of emotions. And what about you? Have you ever sat down and realized your cat was looking at you like that? When did it happen? During dinner, as you were getting ready for bed, or when you were tired after a long day? Try to remember. The last time your cat looked at you so steadily, how long did its gaze last? 5 seconds, 10 seconds, or even longer? How did you feel in that moment? Please share in the comments, because I want to hear your story. I want to know how your cat says "I love you" through that gaze. Trust me, every story has its own power and can inspire others. And you know, what's interesting is that many studies have shown cats tend to perform this unblinking bond for longer when they sense their owner is going through a strong emotional state, sadness, loneliness, or stress. We may not have fully explained the biological mechanism, but they clearly have the ability to sense changes in people. In other words, a cat's eyes don't just see you, they read you. And that's why I believe, when a cat looks at you without blinking, it's not just giving trust, it is also taking on your sorrow, your fatigue, and your invisible wounds. It makes them a part of the connection. And coming up next, I will tell you a secret so strange that many call it bending the laws of physics. How a cat's eyes can not only transmit love, but also bring about an almost supernatural healing ability. Do you remember I told you about a secret so strange that some believe it's like a miracle hidden in a cat's eyes? Let's step into that story together. For decades, scientists have studied how animals express emotions. With dogs, it's quite clear. They wag their tails, bark, and rush to embrace you. But with cats, everything is much more subtle. And because of that subtlety, we easily miss one of the most important signals: the steady, unblinking gaze. Many studies have proven that when a cat looks at its owner without blinking for an extended period, the heart rates of both the cat and the human tend to decrease. In other words, that gaze has the ability to synchronize emotions, like two pieces of music adjusting to become one harmonious melody. Even more surprisingly, in some experiments, cat owners even reported that when their cats looked at them without blinking, their stress and anxiety noticeably decreased. With just a look, a cat can transmit a form of energy that makes people feel more at peace. People call it the healing effect of a cat's gaze. You might find this a bit fantastical, but try to remember, how many times have you been sitting sadly and your cat just quietly sat beside you looking at you? No meowing, no nuzzling, yet your heart felt significantly lighter. That is the most vivid proof. And then, there is a concept from Eastern culture I want to mention. The ancients believed that the eyes are the window to the soul. But for cats, the eyes are also a door connecting to worlds, your world, and its world. When that gaze touches you, it's not just communication, but a deep connection that transcends all limits of language. Don't you find it strange? A small creature, often aloof and indifferent, carries within it such a powerful ability to connect. Perhaps that is why so many people who have experienced pain, loneliness, or loss find such great comfort in the company of a cat. Someone once shared with me, "I don't need my cat to say anything. As long as it looks at me, without blinking, I know I'm no longer alone." And you know, the very act of not blinking carries a special message. In nature, when a cat faces an enemy, it will blink rapidly or look away to avoid provocation. But when it looks at you for a long time, without turning away, it means you are not an enemy, not a threat. On the contrary, you are family. Imagine a creature born with a high alert instinct, ready to flee at any moment, chooses to sit still and look at you. Isn't that the greatest proof of love? And this is where science and emotion intersect. One side says that gaze helps regulate stress hormones, reducing cortisol and increasing oxytocin, the bonding hormone. The other side, the cat lovers, affirm that the gaze is the whisper of the heart. Perhaps the truth lies in both. Cats are both biological and emotional beings, and when they look at you, both science and the heart speak in unison. You are the one we choose. You are a good person. So, the next time you see your cat sitting still, eyes wide open, unblinking, pause for a moment, don't rush away, look back, and let that moment touch your heart. Because it's not just a look, it is pure love, the most precious gift a cat can give to a human. And in the next part I will bring you to the conclusion, when that love is no longer just a look, but becomes an emotional legacy, something that can forever change a person's life. You know, there's something that always makes me think. A cat's life is often much shorter than ours. A cat might be with you for 10-15 years, and then one day it will leave you, as gently as it once appeared. But the strange thing is, in that short time, we feel so loved, so accompanied, as if they have filled a part of our hearts that no one else could replace. And it all starts with just a look. I remember someone once told me about her last cat, a gentle, gray-furred cat named Misty. A few days before she passed away, Misty barely had the strength to walk, but every night she would still try to make her way, climb onto the bed, and lie right beside her. The last time, before closing her eyes, Misty looked at her for a long, long time. That gaze, no longer as bright as it once was, but still warm, still full of trust. She told me in those eyes I saw our entire journey. From the day she was a tiny kitten running all over the house to the day she grew up, quietly sitting by my side on sad afternoons. And finally, the moment she said goodbye. You see, a single look can become an emotional legacy. It doesn't just exist in the moment, but lives on forever in our memories, in our hearts. Every time you remember it, you realize you haven't truly lost that cat, because its gaze, its love, is still there, part of you, forever. And I believe this is what makes cats so special. They don't need many actions, no words. Just one look is enough to carve itself into the human soul, to make us change how we love, how we live, and even how we treat the entire world. So, the next time you come home, when your cat is sitting there quietly, and its eyes happen to meet yours, don't treat it as a normal thing. Sit down, look back at it, smile, because who knows, in that brief moment, a miracle is happening. You are being chosen, you are being loved. And perhaps, that very love will become the most precious memory of your life. Do you have a cat? Have you ever felt that gaze? If you have, hold it in your heart. If you haven't, be patient. Because when it comes, you will understand why the whole world has to exclaim when a cat stares at you without blinking. It means you are a good person. And with that, I just want to leave you with one thought. Love your cat the way it loves you, silently, steadfastly, but profoundly. Because that love, once given, is never lost. It will live on in you, in its gaze, in memories, and in the stories you will tell for generations to come.